Hello, this is Dr. L. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to ask a user for an input. Now, when you write a Java program, you don't want to hard code all your data. You have to ask the user for the input. So, for example, if you have a calculator, you are not going to make up just numbers, but you're going to ask the user for numbers. You are going to ask the user for what operation they want to perform, and based on that you will actually do the calculation. So let's see how we actually go about asking user for input in Java. Okay, so the class that we use is the scanner class. Now what is a scanner class? Basically it's a part of the standard class library which is already included in the Java. So that way, you don't have to write your own code to go and read the data from the keyboard. So all you have to do is you use the scanner class, and the scanner class will help you read the data from the standard input device, which is like in our case it will be our keyboard. Okay, so let's see how we actually use the scanner class. So the first thing we'll have to do is we'll have to put this import statement. Now this statement is going to go at the top of our file. So that will be the first statement in our file. So even before we do the header for our class, we'll actually put the statement in there which will say import java .util.scanner. Okay, so that's the first step. The next step is that inside your main method you'll have to actually create the scanner object. Now your scanner object will work with system.in. Your system.in is automatically, it's again like it's kind of similar to the system.out. So the system.out is connected with your screen, and then the system.in is connected with your keyboard, which is a standard input device. And later on we'll actually see that you can actually also use a scanner object to read data from a file. So in that case, of course, instead of using system.in, you will use something else. But we'll talk about that later on. Okay, so we are going to create the scanner object by using a statement like this. Now scanner is the name of the class, and on the right hand side basically we are saying that I'm creating a scanner object which is linked to my system.in object. Okay, and this is the name of the variable. So I call it keyboard. You don't have to call it keyboard, you can call it anything. So like if you want, you can use the shortcut shorter form of it, like you can just say KB, or you can call it scanner, or whatever you want. So once that is created, now these are the methods that we can use to read the data. So next int is going to read the integer, next double is going to read a double which is a real number, and the next line is going to read the whole line. Now in this tutorial I'm only going to talk about the next int and next double, and the next time, probably next week, like when I will talk about the string object in more detail, I will actually talk about the how to use the next line method to actually read the string. Okay, so let's go and write some code and give it a try. Okay, so I'm going to start my JGraphs, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new class. So file new Java, and then I'm going to call it. Okay, so now remember the first thing we have to do is we have to do our import statement. Okay, so let's go and write an import statement. So import scanner class. Oops. So just say import um, Java. Now this is a statement, so basically we have to make sure that we end it with our semicolon. Now I'm going to start my class. Okay, so in this one, I'm just going to show you how to read the integer, and then the next, we'll do a different file, or different class in which I will show you how to use the uh, double input. Okay. Okay, so let's put our curly braces in there, and then I'm going to start my main method. Okay, so now I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go and create my scanner class. And I'm just going to call it KB to kind of, keep it short. But you can call it anything you want. So KB is equal to new. And before I do anything else, I'm going to actually go and save it. Okay, now a couple of things that kind of keep this in mind, that the scanners start with the capital S, and then again the system start with the capital S. Okay, now I'm going to create some variables. Okay, there's one more thing, while we are kind of doing this, I just want to kind of point out one thing, that, when you write your Java program using JGraphs, you see some of the words are in different colors. Now, color has nothing to do with Java. It is just like, colors are there in the JGraphs to show you the different aspect of the Java program. So like anything like, which is like a purple, that are your keywords. Um, Anything like this orange color, that is your comments. Okay, now actually you can actually go to the settings, and you can also change the color that is associated with different aspects of the Java program, but we are not going to go into that. So let's actually go and uh, ask the user for input. Ask user for input. Okay, now I'm going to actually kind of display a message asking the user, because if I just go and try to read something from the keyboard, then user doesn't really know what they have to do, so I have to kind of prompt them for an input. And then I'm going to go and go and read the data from the keyboard. So I'll say value 1. Okay, now to make sure that I actually was able to read the data, I'm actually going to display the result. So let's go and compile this. And let's go and run it. Okay, so type the number. Now you can see that my prompt, it displays the prompt, and then my cursor moved to the next line, and I can just enter the number, and then it will kind of display that number. Now what I can do is, over here, instead of using print ln, I can actually just use print. That way, like, my cursor will stay on the same line, so that user know that, okay, they have to enter the first number. Okay, so let's give it a try. So let's compile it again and clear this out. And see, now my cursor is on the same line, so they know that, okay, they need to enter a number. So it's kind of, so this way this input is related to this prompt over here. So I'm going to enter 40, and then it's going to display 40 over here. Okay, so now let's ask the user for another number. Okay, and then I'm going to store this in the second variable. So my first number, my second number. Now oops, I left out the statement to display the next number. So let's actually add that too. So I'm going to copy this and paste it right over there, and then I'm going to say, okay, now display number value 2. Okay. Okay, so let's try it again. Okay, now when I kind of display this output, I don't really know what 40 and 10 is, so probably we want to kind of add a label in there to kind of define what output is being displayed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a string in here. So I'm going to say um, now in this case this plus sign is doesn't represent an addition, but basically what it's doing, it's kind of taking the string, it's going to retrieve the data which is stored in value 1, it's going to add it to the end of the string, and then it's going to display it. Okay, so let's try it again. So see, now my input looks much better because it tells you that first number is 40 and the second number is 10. Now there's one more thing that you have to be very careful. When you do this, make sure that you don't put the name of this variable in the quotation mark. So what happens if I put this in the quotation mark? Okay, so it says first number is value 1. Now of course we don't want to display value 1, but we want to display the data that is stored at value 1. So I have to make sure, because when I put this in quotation mark, it will just take it as a string and it's just going to display value 1 instead of actually the data which is stored at value 1. So I need to get rid of my quotation mark. Okay, now there's one more thing I'm going to do, is I'm going to actually do some calculations. So I'm going to do and then I'm going to display the result right after my input, display of my input. So I'm going to say display result. So first number is 40, second number is 10, and then 40 plus 10 is 50. Now of course I can do any kind of calculation I want. So let's say instead of addition, if I want to do multiplication, then I can put a multiplication sign in there. So let's give that a try too. And of course 10 multiplied by 5 is 50. Okay, now there's another thing that you have to be very careful about, because we are trying to read an integer. What happens if a user type anything other than an integer? Okay, so let's give it a try. Let's say if I run this program and the user type real number, so like they type 10.35. Now in that case, it's going to be an error, so my program is going to crash. Now of course there are ways to kind of avoid that, and maybe we'll talk about that later on. But right now just keep in mind that the program is expecting an integer, then you have to make sure that we type an integer. Same thing will happen, like if I type anything other than a number. So let's try that too. So let's try some um, non-numerical input. So this is a non-numerical input because there's no numbers in there. So again, it's going to, my program is going to crash. Okay. Okay, so that's all. That's it about how do you actually go about reading an integer. So now let's actually do the same thing with a double. So I'm going to just start a new file and put the code for double in the other file. Okay, and by the way, I'm going to post all these example files on the canvas, so you can actually go and download that, and you can actually try to manipulate it and see what happened. So you can try it by making changes in the program. Okay, so let's do an import statement first. Okay, so what's going on? So let's start our class. Now it gives me this error because I already have a double input class, so I'm just going to save over it. Okay, so let's start our main class, main method. And then let's create a scanner class. So let's create some variables. So now I'm going to use next double because I want to read a real number. Okay, and let's go and ask the user for the second number too. Okay, let's perform the calculation. And then I'm going to display my output. So I'm going to say system.out You know what I'm going to do is I'm also going to kind of put a blank line in there. And by the way, if you want, you can also do something like, you can add a line in there to kind of make it look nicer. So, you can do something like this. And you will see that how it looks like when we'll actually run the program. Okay, so let's compile this and see what happens. Oops. Okay, so what did we do wrong? First number is, oh, we left out the semicolon in there. And so I'm going to put this in there too. Okay, let's compile it again. And let's go and run it. So I'm going to enter my first number. Let's say 12.5. Oops. Okay, what's going on? Okay, let's actually go and run it again. I don't know what happened to my keyboard. Okay, so 12.5, 13.2, and you can see that this kind of display the input. The first number is 12.5, second number is 13.2, and it kind of shows, put this line, and then it actually shows the result. Now of course this line is kind of optional, but it kind of looks it makes your output look neater and kind of more professional. So if you want, you can do something like this. Okay, so let's I did the addition. Now let me actually show you one more thing. What happened if I actually type anything other, let's say if I type an integer. Okay, so because integer is also a double, so basically you can say 12 is same as 12.0, so it's not going to give you any error. And then so you see now in this case it actually show you that the first number is 12.0, even though you just type 12, because it's just going to convert that into a real number. So I did the calculation. Now of course we can actually go and change our calculation. So instead of doing the addition, let's say I want to do subtraction. So um, let's put that in and let's recompile it. And so 12.3 minus 11.2 is 1.1. Now of course again, like the reason we got all this digit is because of the precision. And actually later on I will show you how you can actually restrict your output, so it actually display the output to up to certain decimal places, but we'll talk about that later on. Okay, so now let's try one more thing. What happens if I type anything other than number? So let's say if I type some non-numerical characters. So again, like it's going to throw an error, and it's my program is going to crash. Okay, so that's it for the input. And then what I'm going to do is, I hope this will help you with doing your homework. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them on the on our discussion forum, or you can also send me an email, and I will see you in the next tutorial.